Welcome back. Today, border czar Tom Homan posted that only 229 illegal aliens were encountered at the entire southwest border in the last 24 hours. There's no doubt that we have a much more secure border today than any day during the Biden administration, when agents encountered thousands of people every day. I think the Trump policies, ending catch and release, have shown a lot of these illegal aliens that the value proposition of coming to the United States certainly isn't the same now as it was under President Biden. But as our show recently found out, that's only part of the story in San Diego. Our producer, Zach Peterson, put together a package with some incredible people who are out guarding an unprotected area of the United States border even today. Take a listen.
Our team got information that there are glaring vulnerabilities on our southern border that we're not sure the current administration is aware of. The team that tipped us off was willing to show us these vulnerabilities themselves. So we met up with Corey Godero and his band of patriotic volunteers that operate under the name the GOAT Initiative in San Diego County to see the problem for ourselves. And what we found was jaw-dropping and clearly a national security disaster. The path across the border and into the San Diego area is not some treacherous, inconspicuous trail as one might think. It's actually cleared, well-traversed, and lined with guide markers put there by NGOs.
So the NGOs are literally marking this path, and we haven't marked it with boots on the ground.
They're facilitating this whole invasion, the NGOs that you and I pay for.
Yes. We borrow money from China to pay for them.
Yeah, yes.
The NGOs have also lined the trail with bins of supplies and bottled water for illegals making the trek. Those empty plastic bottles litter the trail for miles.
This is a repository, as it says, for humanitarian aid. Interesting that it's in English. For who knows who to carry it. You've got water in here, you got ponchos, there's a lot of canned goods, and yeah, it's a well-organized effort. And you see this fire spot. You see multiple different, just here, just in this area, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different little places where people have started fires. The no fire sign appears to have failed. Actually, the no fire sign appears to be on fire. It appears to have been charred. Yeah, here's your no fire sign. They lit the no fire sign on fire.
That's not from fire. That's from them taking the vegetation to make fires.
Oh, so it's they so they'll go and cut out the brush so that they can have a campfire.
So you do it on film, put it on TV, and let's see what happens to you.
Yeah, they throw me in prison.
So there's a tree out here, or a bush called manzanita. It's really pretty up in Julian. They're all over the place. So it's kind of a reddish. I have it at my house. I can't cut it down, but it burns very well and very hot. Great for campfires, so I'm told. So again, rules for thee, not for me.
Another humanitarian drop off.
There's another fire. Yeah, look at this area.
Yeah.
Well,
what do they care if this torches? Like you say, they're trying to get out of the area in, a few hours to a few days anyway.
You can also create a diversion, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to have all assets going to that.
On closer inspection of all the trash the illegals leave behind, we found torn up passports, IDs, and documentation from countries all over the globe. Corey's group has been collecting and piecing together this information for the past several years and putting it all into a database. Nepal and Turkey appear to be two countries willing to print out just about any document an immigrant from any country in the world may need to make their way to the U.S. But Mexico and the Biden administration's CBP One app facilitate their entry.
These are the Mexican documents that you pay for, and it gives you the ability to come through Mexico. It's how the Mexican government monetizes the illegal immigration. It's an official document of the Mexican government. We've got a Mexico-issued document for a Venezuelan military-aged male, born in 1995, and this guy obviously came through here. This was issued on December 11th, 2024, and it expires in November of 2025. So this is Mexico's way of saying this guy's got 11 months to get through Mexico and get into the United States. We're out here and have been looking through some of the paperwork on the ground, and here are directions for how to use the CBP One app. You see CBP One right here referenced, and to receive an appointment. So this is clearly, a well-traveled route, and if you show up with your CBP One authorization, then there's no real immigration enforcement that's taken against you. So this is the outer shell of the SIM card. We found, the inner part earlier, obviously different, but this gives information regarding the origin of the SIM card and the cell phone numbers. And so if you actually wanted to, these are purchased in Mexico, more than likely. Mm-hmm. And so if you wanted to, you could put the heat on the Mexican enterprises that are benefiting off of it.
Corey and his team tell us that the coyotes are brazen enough to actually enter a few hundred yards into the U.S.
So we've seen them come pretty far into the U.S. and normally what they'll do is they'll get up to where we were just at. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll come across a little bit to
and turn around.
Yep, and that they always take a picture, like a proof of life picture, to show that they got their load across, and then they'll head back. When we have the drone up, this is something that I wish the government would do more of. When we have the drone up, they freak out. Everybody does.
Oh, really?
So the coyotes will not come across if the drone's up. They'll just point. I don't know. Maybe they're watching those Ukrainian videos.
We're on one hiking path now, but there are, if you just look down here, you could see these are not game trails. People have been traversing this area, up these gaps. The Border Patrol knows that people are coming through here because they have a pickup spot for them. The NGOs know that there are people coming through here because they have the water and the stuff out for them. The firefighters know that this is a well-traveled area because they constantly have warming fires, which are actually illegal immigrant fires, destroying thousands of acres of habitat and wildlife and private property around here. So everybody knows it. We have not come to a secret place. We're on the U.S.-Mexico border, right in the San Diego area, and there's no wall, there's no protection, and it's being exploited.
Surveilling the border virtually every day for the past several years, whether it's with their infrared cameras, drones, or with their own eyes, Corey's group has noticed some problems plaguing the Border Patrol and all the agencies at the southern border.
These agencies, like the Sheriff's Department, I'm not speaking to everybody, right? The rural deputies, some of the rural deputies don't trust the Border Patrol at all because of the last 4 years. So we are primed for another September 11th because agencies are not trusting each other again. They're not working with each other. So the sheriff knows one of the drop-off locations, but he won't share it with Border Patrol or HSI because he doesn't trust them. They sit in those little pillboxes that they've made, and they watch and watch and watch. They wait till like I said, they wait till shift change, and then they'll push a group through, or drugs, or whatever it is.
They know when the shift change is.
Yeah, it's
why they don't do overlapping shift changes is mind-boggling.
Yeah, in the hospital, that's what we did. This is where the fence ends from the ocean. Now there's, like I said, there's little gaps, but this is where the fence ends all the way past to where we came in. Massive area. So also over here, we found with the drone, we flew the drone down there, they built rock, like pillboxes almost, and they're just sitting there with the binoculars.
The trackers.
Yeah, the spotters. I've seen one order.
There's nobody. Yeah. I thought those guys radioed that there was Border Patrol.
Yeah, there's some down here, but we just went up and down on the entire mountain.
Up and down the entire mountain.
No wall.
Saw, at least was a half mile to a mile of border, such that you could call it one.
This would be such great training for the Marines, for anybody doing foot patrols on this.
Bro, if you put 400 Marines in this area, this would be secure.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need
Serato.
Yeah, you give the full tech pack and, recon, you could have all this taken care of. How many of these gaps are in the San Diego area? where there's just nobody?
One. So back to the road that we came in on, the actual highway.
Yeah.
So let's, from the 250 monument over, that's one. Big gaps, right? One, and then it picks up by Tecate and then stops again. So two, three very large gaps. Now there's little gaps.
Yeah.
Like there's a double wall up here, but then it goes like this, and then there's nothing right here. Like this one stops and this one begins, but you just go like that. Now there's a good argument for that, which is they have sensors and it feeds people into that spot, so it's easy to grab them.
Well, yeah, but you have to grab and deport. What they were doing was feeding him to that spot and then doing catch and release.
We came in off the highway. We've gone probably about, I don't know, 10, 12 miles. It seems like there's a massive shortage of agents, and there's no wall, so it's just free game out here. I mean, we're probably talking about 10 miles total of no wall in San Diego County. So there's big gaps, and then there's little gaps. Well, the traffic has died down a lot, but what we're seeing is still there's the gaps where there's no fence. People are still coming through. So this is the 250 monument. This is very important. Look over here to the left.
Yeah, I see it.
Over here. See these trails?
Uh-huh.
This is near where the guy was shot.
Oh, man.
So I would normally hop out, have you take a picture right here. This is a very sketchy area. A lot of bad things have happened right here. They do not like when we put cameras there. I mean, less than 24 hours, sometimes less than, I think we had one up that was up for like 2 hours and they came and grabbed it. Now they'll come across armed into the U.S. with guns. I have pictures of them in the U.S. with guns. And they just don't care. Now, why is it so significant when you have this whole area? I can't figure it out, because you still have to go over multiple mountains to get to a place where you could potentially get picked up.
Unless they're filling different stash areas here and then going back to Mexico and then trying to nestle that contraband within a moving group of illegals.
One of the guys told me they got a new contract for new vehicles for this specific area.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they are?
Please don't tell me they're like sedans.
Electric.
Oh no. No.
How are you going to use an EV out here?
It's gonna be a challenge. I didn't see any charging stations. So we're here at the U.S.-Mexico border. This barbed wire signifies the border, and it's a well-known smuggling route. You see there's no wall. You see there's no National Guard, no Marines, no Border Patrol. This is an area that is entirely governed by the networks of NGOs working alongside the smugglers and the cartels to get people in the country. And so we would ask the administration and our good friends working to seal the border not to just send a bunch of Marines to a place where you already have double wall, but let's get up here in the mountains. You put Marines here on this hill, there will not be all this trash and all this evidence of smuggling that we see. This is totally a consequence of the area not being governed and controlled by the United States of America. For more, we're joined by one of my very favorite border hawks, former sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, Mark Lamb. Sheriff Lamb, I want to get to Corey and his team and all they're doing to identify gaps at the border. But first, I'd love your reaction to what you're seeing from the interior enforcements, from ICE, from the stronger work by CBP, and the real message that seems to be sent to the traffickers that the border is no longer open.
Well, first of all, good to see you again, Matt. And real quick, congratulations to my good friend, Sheriff Chad Bianco, for his announcement to run for governor in the state of California. He will be amazing. But you look, I love what I'm seeing, Matt. I love what I see him for President Trump. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He has got Tom Homan is on point, on fire, going out, doing all the things that need to be done. You know what matters, Matt? You know this. Messaging matters, and then actually doing what you say. And that's what this administration is doing. And that's why we're starting to see so much success at the border already. People turning around, people being sent home. This is what a secure border should look like. And I think we're well on our way for that.
Yeah, now I know you have been out with Corey and his team in some areas in San Diego where there is no wall, there is no real robust force. When there is a gap on the border that isn't being maintained, maybe you could talk about how the intelligence networks and the NGOs and the traffickers really work together to exploit that and push people into the country.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems I've had over the last 4 years under the Biden administration was the amount of money they were giving to these NGOs. I didn't like the CBP One app. Between the cartels and the NGOs, they were abusing that app and they were abusing the open border policies. Now, under the previous Trump administration, we would see these people being pushed through those areas like the Indian reservation on the south end of my county where there is no wall. That's what Corey sees over there at Tecate Peak, just outside of San Diego. He was seeing the same type of traffic we would see. But under the Biden administration, they just opened it wide open. And so they were coming in through every gap they could find. And the NGOs and CBP One and Mayorkas, they were all playing into it with their broken policies.
Yeah, you and I joke with each other that Mexico is not a country that either of us are ever going to be vacationing in because the cartels probably have good operational capability there and they know who we are. But we continue to see Mexico issue these permits for people to traverse their country as a turnstile on their way to the United States. As the policies are changing in the United States, do you think Mexico is going to get with the program and actually be a worthwhile security partner, or is it just a captive state to the narcos and the traffickers?
Well, I've always described him as like a matador with a big red cape, and they were just doing an Olay, letting everybody right into our country. But now with our borders being more secure, those people that are coming into Mexico might remain in Mexico now. Imagine that. And so Mexico now is actually having to do something about that. The other issue was, Matt, and you know this, Biden and Harris and Mayorkas, they were not a good partner. They were not committed to securing the border. So why would Mexico go head to head and lock horns with the cartels on their own? Now Mexico actually has a partner who is actually willing to stop the human trafficking and drug trafficking in this country. So what I hope is that not only Mexico will protect their own country and stop letting people come in and no more Olay into our country, and that they will actually get serious like we are about eradicating the cartels and the human and drug smuggling into this country.
Yeah, I'm not as optimistic about that. I look at the bribes that the cartels have paid to Mexican politicians, and I think that's just part of the economy there. And you're right, when you have an American administration that is welcoming the open border, there's zero incentive structure for them to do the right thing. Now I think President Trump is probably going to have to use a little bit of pressure. You have studied the tactics of a lot of these traffickers and drug runners. You and I have been out in Pinal County and seen where they've dropped off loads, picked up others. And one thing I know is they're not just going to give up because Trump has shut down the CBP One app and closed the border. And so what do you think is going on in the minds of some of those trafficking networks now, and how will they react to the more serious enforcement posture that we've taken?
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt. It's not like they're going to go, oh, sorry, we can't bring drugs and humans into this country anymore. No, they're still going to do it. They have to be more creative. Now, I hope that we can seriously put a dent in the amount of money that those cartels were bringing in. They went from $500 million under President Trump to $13 billion under this last administration. Once we start to cut into that, I think it's going to create a lot more trouble for these cartels. But make no mistake, they pay a lot of people to figure out the logistics on their end to continue to deliver their product. What I expect to see is a lot more people coming through the desert areas on the Indian reservation, or through the area where Corey is, where there is no wall. You're going to see the cartels spending a lot more resources pushing people into the areas where they're a lot easier to get in, where there is no wall, where they can hide from Border Patrol a lot easier. They're farther removed from Border Patrol. So they're going to continue to bring their product. It might get a little bit more difficult. Maybe they can't afford to pay high school kids $1,000 a body to traffic them from the border to Phoenix along our highways. Maybe they can't engage as many Americans in their transnational criminal organizations, but they will continue to try to bring this product in. And it's up to us to continue to try to stop them.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And now we finally see the cooperation with local law enforcement. It was so frustrating to learn the stories of where in California, the local law enforcement can't work with ICE, can't work with Border Patrol. You've taken a very different stance in Arizona where you welcome that cooperation. I know you still talk to a lot of folks who are actively involved in this work now. Has their morale improved now that there's a clear set mission from the administration and a desire to execute on it?
Absolutely, Matt. The morale's gone through the roof. They're actually back to doing the job that they got hired on to do, that they thought they were doing when they first joined the Border Patrol or CBP. And we love it, too, because we have a seat at the table again. Do you realize that under the Biden administration, I don't think they met with a single sheriff during their 4 years. And myself, under the Trump administration, previous President Trump administration, I've been to the White House 10 times. And then I went 0 times under the last administration with Biden. So I expect that relationship with local law enforcement is going to be much better, not just in places like mine, where majority of my helicopter time is with Border Patrol. I have anti-smuggling units dedicated to that. My 4 canines were dedicated completely to anti-smuggling, whether it was guns, drugs, humans. We were focused on trying to help our federal partners. I love that our federal partners feel like they can actually get back to work again. And I know they feel good about it as well.
Mark Lamb, the former sheriff of Pinal County, thanks so much for joining me, my friend.
Good to see you, Matt.